Well, welcome to Evan Lynch, the newly crowned British quiz champion. Congratulations, Evan.
Thanks. Not really what I expected, but it went okay.
Went okay. That's an understatement of the year. But you know, when you played that quiz, did you get a sense that actually this was going well for you?
Yes and no. Initially, when I finished it, I thought there's probably too many mistakes here. And then as I spoke to other people about the paper and the scores started to come in, I started looking back and thinking, oh, actually, maybe some of these questions, which I thought were automatic, actually people didn't do as well on, or the things that I really struggled on, maybe everyone struggled on. So then all of a sudden, what to say, really.
Then you actually saw the other scores coming in and you realize, wow, I've not only done well, I've done better than everybody.
I was just waiting the whole day for someone to come in and take it, really.
Yeah, well, luckily for you, that didn't happen. Now, when we last spoke, it was before the World Championships, and you were quite kind of modest about your expectations. You'd been focusing on your academic work and your thesis. You hadn't had time to do a lot of work, but you hoped you'd be able to hold your position, and you did. You went from 20th to 15th, so you know that was a pretty good result. Fast forward a few months, and you're winning the British Championships. Did you put in any work in the intervening period? Had you got the thesis out of the way?
No, I'm still working on it. I did some prep in the week running up to it. I'd heard Aidan was setting, and I thought that seemed like an opportunity I couldn't turn down. But so I was hoping to score well. You know, I think the Worlds went pretty much exactly as expected. I couldn't keep up with the top 10 basically, but then the world canon and the BQC, well, not even in terms of canon, the actual style of how you do well on the paper is very different, in that the worlds you can get completely flawed by things you've never heard of. I think on the BQC that's a lot less likely to happen.
Yeah,
and it's about being solid on, you know, get as far into every paper as you can without making mistakes, and then deal with the back 20.
So you did well in the traditional highbrow ones. You got 35 in art and culture, you got 32 in physical world, 31 in civilization and history. Do you think your grounding in academic quizzing really kind of helped you with that core kind of core, more international canon, I guess?
Absolutely. I think, you know, I've spent 6 years doing quiz, I think, seriously, and probably about 5 of them I've been focusing on playing quiz ball. And now I'm about to finish being a student, and I've kind of started to focus on other formats a bit more. I'm basically done with that, trying to compete there. And just the way it prepares you for these papers is you can throw out a lot of answers very quickly and move on from them. So some examples in the back half of art and culture, there was like Cardenio or the Dagda, or Confessio Amantis, which is the John Gower poem. That is something that comes up at the higher level, and you know, you don't need to think about it. You just throw it out and move on, and that's a huge advantage, really.
Yeah, and for people like me who haven't been doing that quizzing, I was sat there thinking, is there something obvious I'm missing? And then when I see the answer, it's like, no, it wasn't obvious. But if you've been living that world where you are getting that level of question or difficulty or obscurity, however you want to call it, coming up, then you're used to preparing and used to fishing that sort of thing out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing where you don't actually, you know, I see why a lot of people don't gel well with quiz ball, because it can be very alienating. And I think also in terms of value of other quizzes, it's not always so useful, especially once you get beyond a certain point, because the things don't come up elsewhere. And this time some of them did, and it was pretty helpful.
But it's not all about quiz bowl, because actually looking at your scores, you were consistently very good. You got 31 in sport. You were in the high 20s in entertainment and lifestyle. So, you know, it's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, he kind of absolutely nailed it on the highbrow stuff and just did well enough in the other. You did very well in all of them. Have you been working at the entertainment stuff, which can be very quite parochial in the BQ scene?
Yeah, I mean, the entertainment paper this time, especially, I thought was almost bimodal after a certain point, in that you just there were things where I go, oh, you know, if I scroll down and have a look at it, you've got things like Ulysses Claw or Sam Fender or Beggin, which I knew from the old Madcon cover, and things like that I could survive on, but it was mostly. You know, I think I missed 3 in the first 20, and then sort of really fell off after that. And you know, I wasn't ever going to get things like Special Branch or Ethel Skinner, but you know, you try and just keep going over the fundamentals, and that's how to do well.
Do you find yourself at times? Like I guess most quizzers on faced with something like this, I know this, I can't fetch it out. And then do you have strategies and ways of trying to drag that answer out?
Yeah, there's a lot of trying to like imagine the shape of the word or the length, and that often helps, I think, if I can start to sort of assemble it, or you start thinking about how you know this, and try and find that right synapse connection. And all of a sudden you remember hearing it from 5 years ago at some random event. And that can be useful.
Yeah, I think anything that can cause that sort of connection to trigger some way. I had, I think it was the Lytton Strachey one. It's like, absolutely no, it's eminent Victorians, cannot bring the name to mind. I know it's kind of like, it's not like John something, it's kind of 2 names, and I ended up writing the alphabet and going down until something in me said, oh, there's an S sound, and I'm writing that down, and you know, and then leaving it for a bit and coming back and working at it. But you know, sometimes you have to do that sort of thing, anything to fish out that point that you know. So reassuring that you also have those sorts of moments.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, in these kind of 40 question papers, there's going to be 10 things you don't know, maybe, and then ideally 20 things that are going to be that you want to be able to reel off. So then the battleground is that 10, and what can you get on those, and you know, going from 8 to 10 in that middle ground is going to make such a huge difference.
Yeah, very much so. Whether you like it or not, now you're a champion, and you know, you've been doing really well across multiple formats, but I think winning something like the British Quiz Championship is kind of, you know, bit of a marquee thing. You are now the sort of person that people are going to kind of look at. Younger quizzers are going to look at you and think, actually, if he started quizzing 6 years ago, how do I get somewhere approximating that? What sort of advice would you give to somebody starting out who thinks, I want to do this seriously, I want to get to where he is? How do they go about it?
I think sort of, I see younger quizzes come through a lot in the student circuit, and it always seems to take a couple of years for them to properly get the hang of it. And you start to, I remember when I started, I was very bad at history, and I needed to sort of build up this chronology in my head of where everything should fit. And then as I started to learn more about that, everything kind of slots in. You see the connections between things a lot more. And I think, you know, there's no other way to get to a certain level beyond doing a lot of work, really. And you know, some people will never want to do that. They're just in it for the hobby. But yeah, there's just so much material to go through, really.
I guess one thing for the student quizzes is it's very easy for them to think that Quiz Bowl is their world. And I think one thing that I noticed about you is you've got involved in Grand Prix, Quiz League and things like that, which kind of gives you added dimensions, doesn't it, in terms of knowledge and questions?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, 5-6 years ago, people were saying, oh, these quiz bowlers don't actually know anything else. And it was always very conscious to me that I wanted to join the QLL tried these quizzes. I remember trying these. You know, I think you were there at the first Grand Prix I did in
Cambridge, was it? Or?
In Cambridge,
Yeah.
And you know, so that was 2017, 2016, and then you know, there's sort of four major formats really: the Quiz Bowl, league format, the written format, and Mimir, and they're all very different and very good fun. But I don't just want to be good at one of them.
No. So, what is your next target? There's a Quiz Olympiad in November. Obviously, there'll be a World Championship next summer, and you'll be defending your title in the British Championships. Have you realistically, you know, are you now thinking, okay, you know, I've got one under my belt, I can now have a crack at some of these things really seriously?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be going to the Olympiad, unfortunately. But the world's always a target every year. You can't ignore it. And you know, definitely I'll be looking to have another go at the British Championship next year. Absolutely, you know, I've got a point to prove now, really.
Well, yeah, as they say with things like football or whatever, it's, you know, one thing to win the title, it's another thing to win it for a second time.
Well, like you know, I don't know who the setter is going to be next time out. I felt like this one really suited me. You know, it's set by guys who are, I feel my sort of age and background, and that's always going to help. But if next time, you know, it's just that marginal difference of 5-10 points that you miss, and then you go, you know, you just have no chance.
No. Well, we don't know what will happen in the future, but what we do know is that this time round, you aced it. You got a phenomenal score, consistently good across all genres. You won by a 2-point clear margin against a player like Pat Gibson and Phil Small, who also had a great tournament. So absolutely kind of rejoice in that and revel in that, because it's a great achievement. But if I may be a bit cheeky, you know, whenever there's a gunslinger, there's another young upstart gunslinger in town who is looking to take you down. Who do you think might be the upstart who comes along and replaces you as the young hope of quizzing?
You know, I don't want to put too much pressure on anyone. They can do what they want. But having said that, there are people playing Quiz Bowl now who are better, like comfortably better than I was at the same age as them. So, you know, if people like Joseph Kroll, Sean Webb want to start, you know, Sean's playing everything at the moment.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And that kind of exposure is only going to help. So, you know, and then, you know, the sort of same generation as me, Dowd and Joey and Co. You know, I go into all these quizzes expecting Dowd to beat me, and he beat me on 3 papers this time, but he just didn't quite make it work on a couple of others. So, you know, I tremendous respect for all those guys.
Yeah,
and I look forward to competing against them for a long time, I think.
There is a phenomenal depth of talent at the moment, and a lot of talent coming through. And I think you know, when I started doing Grand Prix and these things, you know, if we were getting 60 people at an event, you were thinking it was good. And I remember when we topped 100 and whatever. Now the numbers we've got coming through and the quality we've got coming through makes it more competitive than ever, and all the more impressive that you managed to win. So thank you so much for talking to us again, Evan. You know,
Pleasure.
I'm sure we'll catch up again in future, but once more, congratulations on becoming British Quiz Champion.
Thank you.